Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 of the tutorial series as Rome. Now today we're going to be finishing off the classical era and talking a little bit about the medieval era. Now we have already started to do quite a little bit of the medieval era, but I like the idea of having a little bit of structure to the videos, and so that's why we are doing it. Once again, this episode is dedicated to my man, my boy, the Kid Wonder, Everlake. Thank you so much, buddy, for requesting this series. It is for you, kiddo. Now, I did just get a free builder by accident exploring a tribal village, which is kind of a cool thing to happen. And our main objective this episode is to continue practicing conquering. One of the most important things that you need to learn as a Civilization 6 player is how to do war. And you really need to do both offensive and defensive war. And when you're playing on Prince difficulty, which is what I'm teaching you at, your goal should be to be beating the AI in every dimension. Okay? You should be beating them in science, in culture, militarily. All of those dimensions. That is your objective. And then once you feel like you've mastered Prince difficulty, you can start to move up the ranks. Anyway, let's go ahead and get ourselves in prepared position for the war with Mongolia. I'll start by moving all my troops towards the north. I'll do a little bit of reorganization later. Now, coming over to the capital city of Rome, where Pingala is established, we've got 11 population. We did just finish our diplomatic corps. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to go for the consulate building. That'll get us +2 influence per turn, which, by the way, is equivalent to having charismatic leader plugged in, and that would be another, we're making 10.5 influence per turn because we do have 50% influence bonus from monarchy, and monarchy itself gives you a baseline of 5. So our 7 combined becomes 10.5. It'll be 9 getting turned into it'll be 5 influence per turn from here, 2 from here, and then 2 from the consulate building, which is 9, and then that'll get multiplied by 50%, which will bring us up to, 13.5, I think, something like that. I don't know. Who even knows? We're going to go ahead and grab ourselves the consulate. That's going to be 2 influence per turn. Enemy spies will be reduced by 1 level when targeting this city or cities with encampments. So encampments become ways, in conjunction with the consulate, to defend yourself from enemy spies. That's something to keep in mind. And the really important thing here is that +2 culture. Where that +2 culture is coming from is because we have positive relationships with Rapa Nui. And now this is the phase of the game, since we're building a consulate, that we want to actually go up to a minimum level of 2. aka 3 envoys. So that's a level 2 relationship with every single city-state, or we want to be suzerain. That's when it becomes worth it to spend envoys. Now, this building should, if I refresh the UI by moving a citizen, now this building is giving me 4 culture and 4 gold. That's all of a sudden a pretty useful building, right? It's generating a decent amount of resources, and that's why the consulate is an important building to get your hands on relatively early into the game. You don't need to rush it the second that you unlock it, but it's good to work towards it. We're going to go ahead and step onto this niter because, again, remember, a niter tile is by itself a 3 food 1 production tile, and you can build a mine on it, making it a 3 food 3 production tile. Also, it gives me access to a strategic resource. Just overall, a really valuable thing to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab Magnus, and I'm going to put him into the city of Nidaros, and then we can use Magnus in here to rebuild, retool, and rework this city, and start building it up into something maybe a little bit more useful. We're going to assign Victor to, I guess, Arretium, because I am producing a little bit of military from there. And I did manage to get a settler over here, and I've got another settler popping out. We do still have the settler card plugged in, so I would like to get maybe 1 more settler if we could. And we need to have a look at the land here to see what we can do in terms of efficiently claiming tiles. Now, I feel like this tile right here is super valuable. Let me double check. What is a geothermal fissure a feature? I don't know, I can't tell. But there is if I settle here on this tile, right? Let's say I put my city center here. That's on freshwater. Within range of this, we've got decent coastal tiles. We've also got a really nice deer tile, but really importantly, this deer tile, if I put a campus here, because it's adjacent to a reef, you can tell that this is a reef because it has a production on a coastal tile, but no other resource. And you can tell this is a geothermal because it has science and the little pools. Each of these gives +1 or +2 science to a campus. That's a +4 campus right there. That's really damn good. That's hard to pass up. I think this is also a +3. And we could also get a harbor in here, we could go campus harbor, work a lot of coastal stuff, do a lot of really cool things in there. So that feels like that's this city covered. And then I go 1, 2, 3, and the closest I can settle is on these oranges. So maybe I settle 1, 2, 3 steps away from these oranges and just get the rest of these land tiles. So I think that might be what we do here. And I think we will just go for 2 more settlers because I'm just trying to make sure that I grab all the land. I'm not trying to cram my cities together. That's more of an advanced maneuver that you're going to start doing when you get into higher difficulties. When you're on these relatively low difficulties, it's totally fine to space your cities out a little bit and just just try to claim the land, okay? Higher difficulties, you're going to be dealing with much denser empires. I would probably have maybe twice as many cities crammed into this much land. But here, it's not that important. It's all about, right? Civilization 6 is all about what can you get away with. That's the thing I want you to be thinking about, is what can I get away with? Anyway, we did just enter into the medieval era and we did get a golden age, and we have a couple of interesting golden ages that we can take a moment to talk about. We could talk about free inquiry, which gives you Eurekas provide an extra 10% of technology costs. So that means they provide a full 50% of a technology. Your commercial hubs and your harbors provide gold adjacency, or rather their gold adjacency provides science as well. So if I go into the Empire map mode and I look down at this commercial hub, it provides +2 gold. The Empire map mode, by the way, is in this lens here. It's a 9 on your keyboard, the 9 key. That would also give you +2 science, which would be incredible. So that's a really cool ability. Then we have Penbrush and Voice, which gives you +1 culture for every specialty district. So if I just look around, here's a specialty district, here's a specialty district, here's a specialty. You can kind of do a general count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 culture, maybe 9, maybe 10 culture. Probably would go up quite a bit, 10 culture per turn. It's a pretty good one. The other thing is that inspirations provide an extra 10% of civic costs. So if there's some important boosts in here, like earning a great artist or having an alliance, doing all these things, you could get quite a bit of culture out of this. It's a I would say this is pretty decent. I wish it was +2 culture for each specialty district, or +1 culture and +1 gold or something like that. I think it would help out a lot. Monumentality is incredible if you want to continue to expand your empire, or just generally if you have a lot of faith, which we don't, and you want to convert that faith into useful infrastructure. I would say monumentality is probably the strongest golden age in the entire game, and if you master how to play a faith game centered around monumentality, you can pretty much beat any difficulty, any victory type that you want in Civ. Now, Exodus the Evangelist is also a really nice ability. It gives you +2 movement for missionaries, apostles, and inquisitors. This is really good for a religion victory, which we're not going for. Anyway, in my personal opinion, our best choice is Penbrush and Voice. However, monumentality is also totally reasonable here because we could just buy builders. But I'm going to take Penbrush and Voice to keep my culture nice and high because I want to have high culture. And I just don't want to pick the best thing. We're playing on a relatively low difficulty, so not every single decision that we make has to be hyper optimized for a victory condition. Now, taking a look at the city of Arretium, we're at 6 out of 8 population here, so a granary wouldn't be a bad decision in order to allow the city to continue to grow. We could probably also get ourselves an armory if we wanted to continue to produce military. On the other hand, it would be maybe good if we got ourselves another builder in here to continue to develop this city. We have a builder nearby, but there's a lot of unimproved tiles. So I think grabbing a builder, there's a ton of tiles here that aren't improved. There's 2 mines here that I could totally improve, and we should also consider getting another district. However, that's not a huge priority. We don't need to go for those things. But I think maybe a builder to build a couple of plantations to chop out these tiles and put mines there would be quite nice. Let's keep all of our military moving in the general direction of Mongolia, as is our goal. Our Mongolia. It'll take a couple of turns for them to arrive there, but once they do, that'll be fine. We want to continue to produce as many mines on bare hills. So a bare hill isn't a hill with a bear on it. It's a hill with nothing on it, right? It's an empty hill. You never want to have empty hills in your empire. You always want to be building mines on them because it literally, right? This hill has a profit of 1 production, okay? This hill has a profit of 3 production. It triples the value of the tile to put a builder charge into it. And builder charges are relatively cheap. And so the return on investment on a builder charge is extremely narrow, which means basically the time from when you get the builder charge until when you get a return on your investment in a builder charge is extremely quick. Okay, so welcome to the World Congress. When it comes to the World Congress, I really do think it's important for you to understand that this has basically no impact on the game. One thing that you can do, for example, in my situation, is I could go for light cavalry combat bonuses because I'm heavily making use of light cavalry, or I could go for siege and just invest everything in here. This really does not have a big impact. There's a few of these that matter. This matters if you're going for a diplomatic victory, but we're not going for a diplomatic victory in this particular game, so I don't think it particularly is important for me to explain what's going on with this. I would say it's going to be a process of you learning which of these matters. I would say sovereignty is one that really does not matter. In very maybe narrow circumstances, being able to block a city-state from providing their unique bonus to another civ is like a big deal. 95% of the time, the AI is going to vote for the A option, so you're going to have to spend a lot of diplomatic favor to block the B option. And when it comes to military advisory, the AI tends to vote for melee or ranged units. So you need to invest heavily. I'm talking like at least 1 vote per player in the game. So 5 votes for me in order to overpower the rest of the civs. That's like the minimum. And so you can see here, the AI voted kind of like you see here. He voted for light cavalry. He voted for light cavalry. He voted for ranged. He voted for recon. I think they tend to vote for the type of unit that they have the majority of, but they don't tend to vote very heavily. You can usually get away. Like I probably could have gotten away with 3 votes this time, but you should. If you want to guarantee a win, it has to be 1 vote per player in the game. And then when it comes to this, you can see here, absolutely none of them voted for the B option because the AI doesn't even consider this to be a B option. So when it comes to the sovereignty vote, you need to, I think, I can't remember how exactly it works. I think you need to vote at least 3 or 4 votes for the B option to guarantee a victory. I think I would go with 5 again. It's kind of a similar thing to this. You can get away with 3 for the military advisory. I would say for sovereignty, this one, it has to be at least 1 vote per player in the game to overpower the A. There's probably like a little bit of subtlety there that would change that, but that would be my recommendation as a general rule. Now, we did just unlock Celestial Navigation, which does give us access to the harbour as well as the lighthouse building. Those are basically coastal buildings that act as commercial hubs. They'll give you access to extra gold. They'll give you access to food. For example, the lighthouse gives you +1 food on all coastal tiles in the city, and it also gives you a trade route capacity. Trade routes are very important. Trade routes are very useful. Now, Hunza has actually declared war on me. However, I really like the Hunza city-state, so I'm not going to be killing them. What I will be doing is killing their units. And the reason that I'm going to kill their units is that their units are worth juicy experience. And so there's really not a reason for me not to take the time here to kill their units. I think it is just worth it to shoot them. There's no point in me killing the city because the city is actually... this is an important concept to remember, is that city-states are unique in that having a city-state scales every single city in your empire, right? If I have a market in every city, a city-state is worth 2 gold in every city. If I have a city-state and I capture it, I just have a city, okay? And sometimes that +2 gold is worth more than the city, and you're going to have to make that calculation and learn how to do that calculation yourself. I'm going to go ahead and unlock castles because that will allow me to upgrade my coursers, and I am just about to get mercenaries, which will allow me to upgrade my units for half price. Could potentially pick up a little bit of gold. There is a commercial hub and a mine here that I can pillage, so we can also make use of Hunza as a way to generate cash, which isn't bad. In Aquileia, I think it would be nice if I were to build a commercial hub in this city, and you want to build your commercial hubs on rivers because they're worth +2 adjacency, so I'm going to plop it right there. That's going to be it's going to take 8 turns to build, and that'll give me the gold to continue to upgrade my army. So here's a really important concept. I have an army now, and so I don't need to keep building army. What I need to do is to keep supplying this army. This army needs to be supplied with gold, both on a per turn basis to maintain it, but also in a per chunk basis to actually upgrade it. So that's something you have to keep in mind. I don't know what per chunk means. It felt like the right word to use in that circumstance. So military emergencies are generally not good for you. It's not the end of the world if they trigger. You can usually survive them, but basically if you get targeted with a military emergency and it succeeds, you'll have a slight debuff to your combat strength. Enemies will move faster inside your terrain, and it'll be bad. What you really want though is for the time to run out without them completing their objective, and that shouldn't be too hard. So the military emergency failed. Thankfully, Genghis Khan voted against it. Harald Hardrada voted for it, which is fine. We did just get mercenaries, so this is going to trigger some changes in my government. I'm going to take out conscription. I'm going to plug in professional army. I'm going to take out colonization, and I'm going to plug in raid so that I can get extra yields from pillaging. I'm very happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and confirm my policies. I'm going to move a horseman onto this to be in position to pillage. Let's start getting a few kills. So we shoot there. There's a nice kill, +2 arrow score for killing someone near a great general. It's a cool thing that you can do. Kill here. Add another +2 arrow score for killing something near a great general. I think the first kill you get near a great general gives you extra benefits. And then we want to get over here to this mine to pillage it. And we've basically killed all of Hunza's units. And now we just want to move on with our lives. We've extracted experience from them. We took out their military. And I think that is a pretty effective thing for us to have done. Let's head towards our next things. Government titles are always worth it to pick up. So I'm just going to stop off and grab those 2 governor titles. I can't quite fight for suzerainty of Hunza. And I don't want to because I'm about to pillage them. Now you'll notice that I've almost built no farms this game, and that's because farms are extremely low value tiles until you get feudalism. To put it in perspective, farms have to be built on flat land, okay? So that means a tile that gives you 2 yield. So to work this tile is 0 profit. And then a farm turns it into a 1 profit tile. I can just find tiles with 3 production on them and work those instead. So I'd say generally speaking, you don't want to invest into farms until you have feudalism, and then you want to build farms in triangles, which is what I'm going to do over here when this builder is finished chopping out the consulate and improving this with a mine. Mines are almost always better. Like, as long as you have surplus food, more mines is almost like, it's literally always the best choice. I mean, I'm going to even make a stronger statement than I was planning to. It's literally just the best choice. Okay, so we've managed to grab castles. Let's move this guy back to the left. We're going to step you up onto this hill. We're going to pillage this for 270 gold. We're going to pillage this for 270 gold. Then we're going to upgrade these horses to coursers for quite a bit of cash, 125 gold. So you can see how now going to war and pillaging enemy resources is leading to me having the resources to upgrade my army. Okay, and that's a really important thing. That's why light cavalry are so damn good. It's part of what makes them so incredibly powerful, is the fact that you can use them to get the resources that makes them stronger. And like, I have just massively increased the quality of my army. Like, a trebuchet has 35 combat strength, 45 bombard strength, whereas a catapult has 25, 35. So plus 10 combat strength, remember, is a 50% damage increase. That's how you should think about that. So that was a huge upgrade I just did. I'm going to spend a little bit of time. This isn't the optimal play, okay? Don't do this if you're trying to get better at the game, but this is what I'm doing, is I'm just going back through and I'm researching all the texts of the medieval era so that I have all of those options available to me. Basically, I'm just trying to delay my research into the Renaissance era so I can play around with medieval era technology a little bit and show you what it means to be in the medieval era. Okay, we finished the consulate in Rome. Let's go ahead and think about what the next thing that we need to build in here is. There's a couple of like cool things we could do here. There's a really nice theater square that would go right there. It would clog up a tile. But a +6 culture is a huge amount of culture that would help us reach some really important cultural milestones. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that theater square. It's mainly for the culture. Plus, we have 2 cultural city-states in this game that will provide scaling culture bonuses to a culture district. So even just 1 or 2 culture theater squares is actually a really big amount of culture for me this game. So that's kind of how those decisions are all chaining together. I am going to go ahead and build plantations. I'm not going to focus on like super hardcore micromanagement of like what is the absolute optimal thing. I'm trying to like make roughly okay decisions so that you can see that you don't have to play perfectly optimally on prints to actually get super far ahead of the AI and completely dominate them. Now, I think before I go here, I would like to pillage this first tile, and that's what we're going to do. You're going to become a courser, and so we've just spent a whole bunch of cash to improve our military. One thing that we can do is maybe come back and pick up naval tradition because it's only a 4-turn research, and that will give us an envoy as well as the ability to reset our government and maybe save a little bit of cash on maintaining our army. Let's take like a turn to heal on these guys. And I think now is a good time to actually declare the war on Genghis Khan because there's a couple of units hanging around that we could potentially get like kills on. Like this guy here. Okay, we finished the campus in Nidaros. Magnus is also established. I'm going to go ahead and chop out the granary to allow the city to have faster growth and more population space. And then I'm going to go ahead and build the library to increase the science because it's an available tile improvement. I'm going to talk to Norway and see if he's willing to take peace. Basically, when you ask peace from the AI, just like ask them for as much as possible. If there's any red stuff, just take as much as you can in the peace deal. You can usually get 20 diplo favor. You can get them to siege their cities. You can sometimes get resources. Sometimes they won't give it to you. But like I just got 10 gold per turn, 82 gold. And now his empire is completely crippled. He does have 260 grievances against us. Those will drain away at a rate of 5 per turn. So if we decide to declare war on him again in like 20-ish turns, we could just denounce him and declare war in 20 turns and we're in basically the same place from a grievance perspective. So just letting him basically stop being mad is a useful thing to do. So let's move this catapult forward and we could smash the city of Kokakata basically in like 2 or 3 hits with trebuchets. Like this is an incredibly easy war from the perspective of like most wars that you will fight in Civilization. This war is super simple, super straightforward, a very easy to execute war. The settler is in position. I'm going to go ahead and place them down. We get the +3 era score, which is fantastic for having 3 more cities than the biggest player in the game. I'll delete the pin. We'll come into the city, and because it's a coastal city, you almost always want to go for a granary, although it is on freshwater. We could go for a harbour here. I think going for the granary helps the city reach its pinnacle a little bit faster, so I think that's fine. Christina is denouncing us, mainly because we have grievances with other players. Yeah, you've inflicted grievances on others. So don't expect to be popular if you're going to war. Just something you should be thinking about, and if you're okay with not being popular. Now, Hunza we've actually gone to peace with Hunza, so I can't pillage them anymore, but we managed to get a lot of value out of Hunza, right? We managed to extract a whole bunch of cash from attacking them, and because they're now my friend, I'm actually getting gold from them again. I'm no longer in like a bad place from a gold perspective. All right, so let's go ahead and keep smashing that city. Now, something players might do when they're pretty new is they might rush down to take out the city. What you really should do is run around and pillage the stuff outside the city. Unless you're on like a timeline to try to win the game as fast as possible. Remember, army is a type of infrastructure and you need to extract value from your war. And one of the best ways to extract value from your war is by pillaging. So do stop to pillage other people. It's an important gameplay mechanic that you don't necessarily have to master, but you have to at least utilize. I'm going to turn this guy into an archer so that I can shoot this heavy chariot, I think. And we'll go ahead and grab ourselves another plantation over here. Actually, there should be 2 cities here. So I'm thinking maybe I settle on the citrus. Yes, I think I'm going to settle on the citrus. Let me explain. I was going to settle here, but this would leave a whole chunk of like unclaimed land. 1, 2, 3. These 3 tiles here unclaimed. So I've decided instead I'm going to settle on the citrus because this is also a really good campus tile, like right there. And so this would be a great way for me to increase the gold and science of my empire, which is a great way to hit the late game and just make sure you stay ahead of other people. Okay, so this chariot managed to capture one of my builders. It's not the end of the world. It's something that happened. We're sitting on 5 envoys, and we have found Taruga with our envoys. Now remember, one of the things that we want is either to have breakpoints or suzerainty. We don't need to be suzerain of Taruga right now. We can wait until we've killed Genghis Khan and then we can take that suzerainty. We could theoretically put 4 envoys in there and take it right now. We don't have to. We can wait. We could chill. Remember, you don't have to make every single decision the second that it's available to you. You can take your time. Let's go ahead and pillage here for 270 gold, and then we'll upgrade you to a courser, which is fantastic. And then we want to focus fire. The thing that you want to do, generally speaking, is you want to focus on getting rid of the enemy units, because the enemy units are the thing that are going to be getting in your way. The cities are not a big deal because as long as there's no units around, you basically have infinite time to take down a city. Let's move you forward. You will become a courser. Some of these guys have promotions as well. Having to handle promotions will slow your cities down slightly. It's not the end of the world. It's just part of how the game works. I could put a Moai right there. I don't think I will. I'd rather get over here and maybe put a couple of extra mines on these tiles. Remember, mines are king. Most important tile in the game. And you can see even his spearman can barely hurt me. Barely even tapping me. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot that spearman. That'll get him a level. You can move around. The city is now under siege, so it can't recover health, which means we're completely in control of the situation. I'm going to move you here and start pillaging that holy site for the faith. While we are not a faith-based civilization, we still think faith is based. Okay, let's go ahead and take the courser's promotion on you. We kind of want to have like a nice spread of promotions. I think it's good to just get a few of each. I like to, because eventually we can combine those units together and get the benefit of all of the promotions. Let's go ahead and grab that guy. You're chasing down that chariot. The chariot, I want to try and bait him. I'd be a little bit upset if he managed to kill this trader, but it is what it is. It's my only trader. So in the city of Arretium, I do think it's worth it for me to get the commercial hub. Gold is the sign of nobility. It is the thing that makes your empire churn, especially when you're ahead of the AI. And we're not trying to be super ahead of the AI. We're just trying to be like on par-ish with the AI. Because if you play every game being super wildly ahead of the AI, you're not going to learn the necessary skills to play from behind. So I would generally say try to focus on being on par with the AI. I don't think I have many more units to upgrade, so I'm going to drop professional army, and then I'll plug back in conscription to make my army cheaper, because this is effectively +1 gold per military unit in my entire civilization. I'm also going to quickly plug in diplomatic league, and then I'm going to switch over to Taruga and put a single envoy into Taruga, which will become 2. I don't need to get suzerainty. We can wait, but I do want to be efficient with the envoys that I do get. And then we can go back to researching guilds and get that +1 governor title here, which is one of the most important resources that you can find in that whole tree. I could pillage twice here for a whole bunch of faith, and then you have a promotion. I prefer generally the grape shot line of promotions because it makes your units quite good at killing. It makes your trebuchets good at actually killing units. Shells and crew weapons are pretty good too. I would say like grape shot, shrapnel, expert crew into forward observers is fine. If you really want to dedicate this unit to killing cities, you can go crew weapons, shells, expert crew, forward observers. I prefer the grape shot line. This is a kind of style thing. You might just develop a different style. And on Prince difficulty, you really don't need to worry about loyalty. So I don't even sweat it. Like, you're good. What you do care about, though, is pillages. So pillage that for 141 culture. Now, to put that into perspective, that is like 70 turns of having a monument. That is a huge amount of culture. It's insane. So just something that you should consider. We will go ahead and get the monument. We care more about the monument than we do faith, so we don't care about repairing the holy site. We will eventually repair that holy site because it's a useful building to have eventually, and like it's already been half built, so you may as well finish the construction in this sense. but it's not completely necessary. We want to pillage, like, things we don't care about pillaging are farms. Anything that provides faith, culture, science, those are things we care about pillaging. And that's going to be, you're just going to have to experiment and learn the process. Plantations give faith, pastures give faith, campuses give science, holy sites give faith. You know, all these different things, they provide a different benefit. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and plant a farm down here. And this will actually set me up to demonstrate the really important thing about farm triangles. Over in the city of Arretium, we're going to go ahead and chop here. That will give us food and production from the chop. And it'll also allow us to put a mine here, which will increase the production of the city per turn. We're going to go ahead and settle on the citrus. Important thing to note about settling on luxury resources. Settling on a luxury resource preserves the yield of the tiles underneath. So this city center will have 3 food, 1 production. And we also get the luxury itself. So super good to do that. We'll go for the granary immediately because this is a coastal city. I will go ahead and place the harbor. I generally advocate towards building the harbor in your coastal cities before anything else. There are situations where that might change, but I think the harbor is just a really key building for making sure that coastal cities are actually useful. We finished the library in Nidaros by chopping, which gives us, again, options to maybe potentially go for a harbour. I think we should at least get a quadrireme in here, or a galley rather, to be able to protect the harbour tile from Norway. Even though, well, we're not actually at war with Norway, but I will get the galley because it'll allow me to explore. Plus, galleys are worth +2 era score the first time that you build one. Okay, when it comes to conquering Urumqi, we're going to go ahead and pillage that. Now, we really want experience to be concentrated onto our siege units, because siege units are units that benefit incredibly well from levels. So wherever we can get experience, we should always be prioritizing hitting a city with a siege unit while that has health, because if you shoot a city that has 0 health, you actually get no experience. Only melee units can get experience from conquering a broken city. Similarly, with our coursers, we want to concentrate experience on coursers with 1 level, because light cavalry benefit a lot from having at least 2 promotions. So you either want them to have no promotions or 2 promotions. So and capturing a city gets you 10 experience. You see here 11. It had a slight buff to its experience, I would imagine. I don't know why it was 11. It's usually about 10 experience for capturing a city, which will get us much closer to that level 2. Just, these are like little basic rules, little tips, little tricks that if you do them and fulfill them, will lead you like in really interesting directions in your gameplay. Let's have a little peek at the city. Looks like there's nothing really here that can threaten us, so we can kind of take our time. We have a holy site that is pillageable at the very least, and otherwise it'll just be a very slow, easy ride to destroy Mongolia. So let's talk about farm triangles. So the benefit of the feudalism ability here. Farm improvements gain +1 food for every 2 adjacent farm improvements. Okay, I want to talk about that. This ability literally doubles the efficiency of building a farm. So normally, if you build a farm, you get +1 food. If you have 2 farms adjacent to a farm that you are building, you get +2 food. That doubles the efficiency of the farm. Okay, that's a really key thing. In your head, you're saying +1 food, not a big deal. I want you to just think of this as this doubles the yield from the farm. All right, that's what I want you to think about. So when I place this, I'm getting +1 food from spending the build charge, but then I'm getting another +3 food from increasing the efficiency of all of these tiles. And so we go from, if we calculate the efficiency of all of these tiles, okay, we're going to leave the science and faith on the wayside, because when we talk about tile efficiency, we're usually talking about food and production in terms of infrastructure, and then things like gold, science, and culture, those are like bonus yields. So 4 food, 3 food, and 2 food, that's 4, 7, 9. It costs 6 food to work all these tiles. So we're profiting 3 food and we're profiting 3 production, which means we're getting 100% profit from these tiles because we're expending 6 resources and we're profiting 6 resources. So we're basically getting a markup of 100%. Okay, so huge profit on these 3 tiles. And this is when you can start thinking about like groups of tiles as profit units. And then like these high food tiles will allow me to work low food tiles like these mines, right? This low food mine, this low food mine, this low food mine, while still maintaining strong growth. When I place this farm, I take this profitability, right? It goes 5, 4, 4, which is 13 food. Okay, -6 for how much it costs to work this, which means I'm profiting 7 food. I am profiting now 10 resources from these tiles as opposed to 6. So that's a huge profit increase. And on top of that, I'm getting faith and culture and science and stuff like that, right? So just really want you to think about that concept, the concept of like, what am I expending to get a tile? Right? It cost me a couple of builder charges versus what am I getting out of a tile over time? And think about like the profit of a tile. How profitable is a tile? Because you're not looking, nobody wants to run and stay in the same place, right? You pump your legs because you want to go somewhere, right? And if you're staying in place in Civ, you're effectively wasting your breath, your energy. There's +2 era score for building our first galley. The goal of this galley is simply just to protect our harbor from Norway. We could kill him so easily here. His city's being hit by a catapult. What? I'm not going to do that because that's just a silly scenario. But now we can go for the harbor here. And I would say I recommend harbors, commercial hubs. Get that really nice gold yield. Let's go for medieval era. We're going to grab the governor title. We would like to be merchant republic, I think, this game. You can make an argument for monarchy, but I want to get medieval fairs to get the +1 governor title. And then I'm going to go for, I think merchant republic feels good. Although maybe monarchy is, we're going in more of a militaristic direction. So I think holding on to monarchy is fine, which means in that case, we're going to head towards diplomatic service, where we're going to get access to being able to build spies, as well as our tier 3 diplomatic quarter building. We're going to have a lot of really fun stuff to talk about mechanically in the next few turns as we move our way towards the Renaissance era. Okay, Sarpsborg has built a campus. I really want to not have to deal with this guy running around inside my territory. I think I will just try to kill Mongolia fairly quickly here. I'll pillage that. I'll slam into the city pretty hard just to get rid of Mongolia. Also, I believe I can yoink a builder here, which is kind of a fun outcome. But yeah, we finished the campus. I think we repaired a campus. Let's go ahead and build that library. It's always good to invest into something you already have. We got the commercial hub in Ravenna. If you build a commercial hub, you have to build the follow-up building because like 80% of the value of this thing is the trade route that you get from building the market. The market gives you +1 trade route capacity. Also, my markets are scaling really nicely off the city-states that I know, so that's quite a valuable thing to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab right now Amani, and I'm going to put Amani into... Let's see, who do I really want to have control of? I'm going to put Amani into control of Kagwana, just so I don't need quite as many envoys to take control of that. So Amani is a really useful governor because they gives you +2 envoys when you assign her to a city-state. So she's like envoys you can reuse around the map. There are some cool things you can do with her early if you take her and you get really good exploration. You can like chain suzerainties together to get era score, because the first person to become suzerain of a city-state gets +2 era score. So if you kind of move her around in a tactical manner from if you first meet a bunch of city-states and then put her into those city-states, you can like guarantee suzerainty of like 3, maybe 4 city-states and get yourself like 2 to 6 era score, era 1, which is really valuable. And the cool thing now about the fact that this farm triangle is generating nice profit, it also means that if I place another farm adjacent to these farms, this farm is automatically +2 food as well. So farms become more efficient the more of them you can put together. I would say the farm triangle, where you build 3 farms adjacent to each other, or the farm diamond, where you build 4 farms in a diamond formation, is one of the most common ways to do it. And then you can maybe add like an extra farm or 2 like on the offshoot directions. I would say generally don't invest a lot into farms. Farms are low value tiles unless you can get them in triangles on resources. That's a general rule of thumb. We have managed to complete our first theater square that had an adjacency of 3 culture or higher, which did get us 3 era score. That's something you need to be considering. We also unlocked machinery, which gives us access to the best wonder in the game. But rather than talk about the best wonder in the game, we're just going to go ahead and move on and not even worry about that, because remember, we're here to have fun. We're playing the game for a good time. We're chilling. We're not trying to be super optimal. Like in a certain universe, maybe getting like my government plaza building would be the move, but I'm just going to get an amphitheater because I want more culture, right? I'm not playing the game to win right now. I'm just trying to play, understand, reference, and gain knowledge of the gameplay mechanics and try to beat the Prince AI. I'm basically trying to play the way that I would expect someone who is learning the game and trying to get better. This is how I would expect you to play. Just play at a reasonable level, make use of the gameplay mechanics, understand the fundamentals, and then you should be able to beat the Prince AI. There's no reason you should ever lose to the Prince AI, okay? I'm just going to say that right now. +5 era score, perfect. We'll keep this. And so now we've just completely defeated Mongolia, which takes him out of the running. We're no longer at war with Taruga, so if we put 2 more envoys in there, we can take suzerainty. And remember, we either want to be at 3 envoys or suzerain, and since we can get to 3 envoys, 1 extra envoy, we can just put 2 more in, and then boom, we're suzerain of Taruga, and that'll give us a 5% science bonus in all cities. We get a little bit of extra diplomatic score, which helps offset the fact that we're losing diplo favor because we've captured people's capitals and we have a lot of grievances. But I'm in like a super hardcore game winning position now because I have this huge empire, and learning to manage a big empire is going to be really important for you because you're going to have to learn how to manage a dense empire, and dense empires are basically like having big empires. This is a very big, wide empire. You're going to have to learn how to make dense empires work. Let's go ahead and move my trader over to Setia, and I'm going to trade from Setia to the capital, because I want to speed up how quickly Setia gets both its granary and its harbour. Because right now it's going to take over 100 turns to get both, and that's way too long. And a trader is just a great way, again, to remove production and food around your empire. Just really, really keep that in mind. Whenever I capture a city, I don't really think too hard about what I'm going to do there. I'm just like, I got to repair all the buildings, and that's all I think about. I'm going to send one of my horses down around here to scout, because my scout is now too weak to really afford to scout the Fog of War, but this courser can do it, and it's only a single unit. And then the rest of my military, I'm going to maybe divert some military to clearing this barb camp to the north, and then the rest of my military will come down south to begin the invasion of Sweden. That should be really your goal when you're playing on a continents map. Your goal should be to conquer your continent. And once you're there, look to transition into a quote-unquote real victory condition. Let's go ahead and chop here. That'll help finish the commercial hub faster, and we get closer to having a mine on that tile. That's fantastic. I'm trying to explain all of the little decisions that I'm making, why I'm doing them, what's the reasoning, what's the consequence of the decision, what it's going to do for my gameplay. Just trying to make sure that you have like a really good fundamental overview of the ins and outs and the whys and the wheres of what I'm doing. So if we take this trade route and we send it to Rome, it's going to be worth 4 food, 3 production, and 1 gold, which will massively increase the rate that the city will finish it, right? It took 14 turns off the granary. It took like 60 turns off the harbour. The city's going to grow faster. It's going to work more tiles. It's going to grow its borders faster. It's going to do everything faster. Now, one thing that I kind of need is like, I need a city to start pumping out a few builders, because there's a ton of cities here that are a little bit busy with their infrastructure and haven't been able to get builders. So my capital city, like my core cities, are good candidates to be building builders in. I'm just a little bit busy. What I mean by that is I'm building things that like have a very high return on investment at this phase of the game. Now, there's a really interesting balancing mechanic in the game of Civilization, which is basically the higher the difficulty that you play on, the more infrastructure and stuff that the AI has, which means the more stuff that you can pillage from them. So if you successfully pull off a war, you actually get a lot more value from a war on higher difficulties than you do on lower difficulties. So there's kind of like a lot of interest concepts that you're going to want to... They're going to seem, you know, like unintuitive, or they're not going to be obvious at first, but once you spend a little bit of time with the game, you'll start to kind of see the matrix, is the way that I describe it. Like the numbers will start to make sense. You'll start to see the patterns, and then when you see the patterns, you'll make logical deductions, and you'll make logical deductions. Those deductions will become like, oh yeah, this was always this way. How could I not have seen this? And that's kind of like the way I describe it. I describe it as seeing the Matrix. By the way, if you haven't seen the Matrix, totally great movie. Classic sci-fi action flick. Really great set of movies. Well, is it a great trilogy? Maybe. Is it still a trilogy? I never even went and saw the final movie they did. I don't know why I didn't. I was actually kind of excited for it. You know what my problem is? I didn't have anyone to go with. I need to start hitting people up for the movies, okay? We just finished the market, that's +1 trade route capacity. Or rather, we just finished the commercial hub, giving us access to the market. The market is the most important building in the commercial hub because you get that trade route. The trade route is huge. It's like most of the value of a market is in the trade route. Really, I know I've said that a few times, but I really want that to be understood, just how important it is that the trade route is where the majority of the value comes from. Okay, so I think we just got some stuff here. We're working on buttress and education. I don't really need to talk too much about like the ins and outs and the tactical things. One thing you can go for is grandson Pingala. Generally, I don't super recommend it if he's in the city with the government plaza and thingy. There are optimizations you can do, like actually it's kind of technically better to have Magnus be in the city because he can add extra 2 food to internal trade routes. We'll not even bother talking about that. It's not super important. When you're playing at prince level, okay, your focus is just on conquering, right? When you're playing on the continents map mode, you gotta beat your continent and win the game. That's your goal. Your goal is to build familiarity with the game systems, to build muscle memory, moving your mouse around, clicking on the correct items, doing all that stuff. You need to be immersed in the process. Civ is a game about processes, and you need to become good at processing. Okay, market is completed in Aquila. The second you finish your market, 99% of the time I recommend you build a trader. That is just what you do. It doesn't matter which city you build it in. It doesn't have to be the city that built the market. Just build the market. I'm going to go for the granary here in Coqueta because it was settled off of fresh water, which makes it relatively weak. I need to get a builder up here to repair some of these tiles too. That would be nice. This builder, instead of well, you know what? I'll build a lumber mill. Gives the city a bit of production. So which avenue am I going to invade Sweden through? I think it makes sense to go through this mountain range. I think it makes more sense to go around, but I'll go through the mountain range just because it's a fairly straightforward battle. Nice. We finished the amphitheater in Rome. I remember this amphitheater is getting +2 extra culture on top of its normal amount of culture because we're friends with 2 cultural city-states. That's something that we really want to be staying aware of. So in the capital city, we have a couple of options when it comes to infrastructure. We can keep building districts. You'll even notice experienced players are going to be sitting here wondering Potato, why aren't you pre-building your districts? And the reason I'm not pre-building my districts is because we're playing on Prince. We don't need to play optimally. We just need to make reasonable decisions. So there's a few reasonable decisions available to us. We could go for the entertainment complex. I don't think anybody has built the Colosseum. So we could totally go for the Colosseum here. And in fact, if I were to put an entertainment complex here on this copper and a Colosseum here, it would hit a fair number of cities. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a 5-city Colosseum right there, which is pretty damn good. So I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and build the entertainment complex. We've got, so we're going to build the entertainment complex, then we'll build an arena in the entertainment complex, and then we'll build a Colosseum. Amenities are an extremely important gameplay mechanic that would probably be honestly better off explaining in an entirely different YouTube video. You can kind of ignore them, but if you learn how to master amenities, it can take your game from being A tier to S tier. It can completely revolutionize the way that you play Civ. I'm going to go ahead and purchase the trader in this city. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at the city. And there's some interesting things we could do here. We could go for a harbor, which wouldn't get us another trade route, but it would specialize the city heavily towards gold generation. Another thing we could go for is go to the industrial zone, place that down, and get an industrial zone going. There's a +3 industrial zone here, which is pretty good. It'll eventually be +4, potentially even +5. So I think getting an industrial zone down is not a bad move. Okay, Karakorum, we finished the granary, and the city is getting restored. It is a coastal city. I almost always recommend, if you can get a +4, a +3 or better harbor, always go harbor. It's super, super valuable to do. Harbors are just a great, great district to fuel your empire with gold. Super, 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 super recommend. Could not recommend harbors higher. One of the best S tier type districts in the entire game. Okay, Sarpsborg has finished its library. We have a couple of options we can go for here. I would advocate just, if you don't know what to build gold. Gold is a really flexible resource. It can keep your army updated. It can get you out of trouble. It can save you time. It just does so many useful things for your empire. I'm going to put a trader into Lug Dunham because it's a relatively new city and it could benefit from a trader to the capital a lot. The city of Arretium has finished a market. I'm going to go ahead and build a trader in here. Again, remember, traders are one of the most important things that you're going to build in your empire. So always build them as soon as you have them available. We've completed the market in Mediolanum. Guess what we're doing? We're building traders. I just really want to emphasize how powerful traders are and how useful they can be if they're placed around your empire effectively. They are like workers you can put anywhere. Now, I'm going to be declaring war on Christina, and so I would like to be suzerain of Caguana. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 envoys in here because I need 7 envoys to become suzerain of the city-state. So I'll place those there. I get suzerainty. I get good intel on Sweden, and I've still got 3 envoys left. And I think a lot of players right now would put the extra envoy into Rapa Nui, but it would literally not benefit me because I don't have any broadcast centers or chanceries. There is no need to put this envoy here. These envoys are better kept in this thing right there. Okay, I promise you. We're going to trade from Lugdunum to Rome in this new city. Again, this will give the city an insane amount of acceleration in terms of production. It's really, really, really useful. Really, really, really important. We are going to put this trader over into, I think, Karakorum and see if we can trade with the capital. If we could trade with the capital from here, it would help this city get up and running a little bit better. It's a relatively newly conquered city. And this city has finished a bit of production. So I'm going to take time to get a builder because we have a lot of tiles that we could still improve. Major flood, not that it really matters. I mean, I think it did a little bit of damage. She is worried that I'm going to declare war on her. Never ever accept the AI's request for you to declare war on them. It's completely not necessary. We are about to get a medieval era Great General. So some mechanics to keep in mind about Great Generals is Great Generals provide combat bonuses to the set of units of their era +1. So if you have a classical era Great General, he provides bonuses to the classical era and the medieval era. A medieval era Great General provides bonuses to the medieval era and the Renaissance era. Generally speaking, unit upgrades skip an era. So if this is not true for horsemen and a couple of other units, but generally speaking, they skip an era. So if a unit provides bonuses to say, trying to think of an example here, It's more true of heavy cavalry. So like a classical era great general and a medieval era great general will boost knights, but neither of those will boost cuirassiers, which are the upgrade to knights. Similarly, a Renaissance and industrial era unit will boost the cuirassier, but only the industrial era guy will actually boost the tank. So it's important to know which units are being boosted by which great generals. It's a little bit of a complicated system that I find slightly annoying. Hey, we met Tomiris. Now, Tomiris gets really annoyed when you kill other people, which is kind of funny considering her role as the slayer of Cyrus. Let's go ahead and declare the war on Sweden. And in the opening moves of the war, our main goal is to get into position, find things to pillage, and just generally do okay. We're not looking to completely obliterate her on the first turns of war. We're just looking to get into position. Terracotta Army is a really fun wonder to build. It gives you +1 great general point per turn, but it also just gives all of your units a level. Really, really good for spies, actually, surprisingly. Might be a strange thing because spies count as units and they can get promotions. I think this city is maxed out on its housing. I'll go ahead and quickly get a granary to allow it to continue to grow, because remember, the more housing you have, the easier it is to grow population. The easier it is to grow population, the more tiles that you can work. So yeah, granary just is a good way to keep a city's production and growth on the up and up. We're going to trade with Karakorum to Rome. That's going to be worth 4 food, 3 production, and that will shave 4 turns off that harbour. Remember, your goal as a Civ player is to slowly and surely learn all the gameplay mechanics that get these numbers as low as possible, right? You want to shave time off these numbers. You want these things to go as low as they can go. How low can you go? How low can you go? Go. We have the entertainment complex in Rome. The entertainment complex itself is worth +1 amenity. The arena is worth +2 and a culture. So we go ahead and build that. That'll be 3 amenities in total in the local city. And then we can get started on the Colosseum to get +2 amenities in 5 cities. That's effectively 13 amenities from a single district, which is an insane amount of efficiency. An insane amount of efficiency. Taking a look at the city of Lugdunum, we have managed to finish building the granary. Let's go ahead and get started on the harbour. I generally advocate, again, go for the harbour first. I know it's an infrastructure thing. It makes coastal cities so much better if you get the harbour. So it's just a general recommendation from me. Now, when you're playing at this difficulty level, it should be very rare for the AI to even have a military that can stand up to you. Like Sweden literally has, I think this archer is like one of her 2 units. So, yeah, it is what it is, right? It's fairly easy to beat the AI on these lower difficulties. +2 era score for a civic from a new era. There's education and diplomatic service, which will give us access to the chancery. Education is more important because it gives you, or more important for science stuff because it gives you access to the university. But the chancery is a really important empire-wide infrastructure. You want to be building this building every single game that you play because it gives you +3 influence per turn, which is more envoys to get control of city-states. City-states are how you scale your empire. Machiavellianism. It also gives you access to spies. I would generally recommend, but around the time that you get diplomatic service, you want to pick a city, you want to go to that city, and you just want to queue up a spy. You can prioritize it and say, actually, I need that spy as soon as possible. Really, like, spies are an important gameplay mechanic to learn and to master because it's going to take your game. Again, it's one of those gameplay mechanics that's going to take your game from being like, okay, I'm doing pretty okay, to where you're doing really damn well. We still have raid plugged in, so we can pillage cities way more effectively. I'm quite happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and keep on pillaging. Remember, our goal, again, is to turn our military into infrastructure. We are trying to profit from the fact that we built a military. Think of military as a type of infrastructure. It either protects your infrastructure from other players, or it allows you to gain more infrastructure through conquest. Now, we're going to be heading into the Renaissance era here, and there's a lot of really fun things that we can talk about in the Renaissance era. But one of my favorite things in the Renaissance era is right here, the Forbidden City, which gives you +5 culture and +1 wildcard policy slot that effectively allows you to put another card in your government. So that's a really, really fun wonder to play around with. So we'll start working our way towards that. Also, the printing tech is really, really important because it gives you +1 diplomatic visibility with all other civilizations. And the way that diplomatic visibility works is that if you have diplomatic visibility over your opponent, you get +3 combat strength against them. If your opponent has +1 diplomatic visibility over you, they get +3 combat strength. So the way that I want you to think about printing is that printing will always give you, in any sort of war game, +3 combat strength on your units. That's just a really fundamentally true fact about that technology that you need to jam into your brain. Printing is one of the most important things for you to research. We're going to go ahead, since we finished diplomatic service, And I think we're going to stick with monarchy here because it's a semi-militaristic government. I would say theocracy is a slightly better militaristic government, particularly if you go for a faith unit buying strategy. But I'm going to stick with monarchy because I didn't go for a religion this game. Instead, I'm going to go for humanism and start making my way towards nationalism. The Renaissance era is a relatively small era when it comes to like technologies and civics. Well, civics especially, but it's an important transitionary period because it's where you typically pick up your tier 2 government. Let's go ahead and grab Marcus Licinius Crassus. He's not a particularly important or useful great merchant, but you know, he generates a little bit of gold, he can capture tiles, he can do fun things. He's fine. I would say generally he has 3 charges, so you want to use him to grab tiles that are actually going to improve an individual city by quite a lot. We do have a barbarian man-at-arms coming here to annoy us, so we will want to upgrade you to a knight. So in that case, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly grab a tile so that we have the cash to upgrade you to a knight. And then we can go and blast this guy with our knight. All right, let's kill this crossbow. Fairly simple, straightforward kill. I don't like how this terrain over here looks. I'm actually going to bring maybe another courser and a knight over here to try to clear out these barbs because there might be really good terrain here. Maybe we would want to settle it. All right, let's go into full retreat mode because the skirmisher does a lot of damage. We'll bring the knight over to here to stand on the farm because the farm is what's going to heal the man-at-arms and we don't want the man-at-arms to heal. We'll move our units and I'm going to tell these cities to maybe get me another courser. No, there's no need to. I think we can win this war with the level of units that we have. We don't need to surround them. We can pillage for science. That'll get us printing faster. We can pillage for faith, which is nice. We want to get experience on our catapults, so focus firing on enemy cities is like a great use of those. Let's pillage this and we'll start moving around to the other thing. Just getting free pillages, free production, free resources from hurting our enemies is the vibe that we want to go for. Okay, let's take out this man-at-arms that's being like slightly annoying and he's been dealt with. Let's scoot you into the water so that you can maybe, you know, scuttle off somewhere to heal. We got a builder in Aquileia. We want to look around. I think the city of Lugdunum could really use a builder. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Magnus, reassign Magnus to Lugdunum because there's at least one tile that I want to chop twice and maybe some other tiles that I might want to chop and improve. So we'll get a little bit more chop efficiency out of that. You always want to be actively using Magnus where possible. The city of Aquileia, maybe I'll build an armory to get the production going. We got a trader in Mediolanum. This trader could be useful in a wide variety of places. I think it would be fun to plant it down in maybe one of these cities that we conquered. But also I think it would be good maybe in Nidaros. So I don't know if Nidaros already has a trader. Yeah, I think Nidaros could use a trader to help build this up. I'm going to go ahead and grab Ancient Walls in Nidaros, again, because this is a border city where we might have to deal with Norway. So having just walls in this area is useful. And, you know, we don't need to be hyper optimal about how we play the games. We don't need to build the walls exactly as we need them. We can kind of like pre-build them. It's not the end of the world if the walls weren't instantly useful from the moment we got them. Something we want to be careful about is we don't want the city-state to kill cities. Because they will destroy the city completely rather than capture it. So just keep that in mind. City-states, if they attack an enemy city, will completely obliterate it. So be careful. That's not true for enemy capitals, however, I think. But yeah, we'll be looking to capture Stockholm. We've managed to pillage it a bit, so killing it is now our next move. Let's double pillage to rip down this building. I'm going to move my trebuchets into position. I'm going to pillage here. Can we get the kill on this city? Maybe next turn if I get you in position as well. So let's move into position, and next turn we should be able to kill Karlstad and capture it. We don't want the city-state to kill it because they will literally just delete the cities, and we're trying to benefit from this war, not like cause chaos, you know? I do think an amphitheater in the city, 18 turns for +4 culture, that's a really nice benefit. That's a really solid time. Remember, the timeline for effectively building infrastructure is about 15 to 20 turns. That's how fast you want to be going when you're like a relatively new player. When you're playing with the big boys, you got to be doing it in like 8 turns. But that's a situationally dependent thing, right? It's going to depend on the quality of the land. What phase of the game is it? What text do you have available? What's the status of, XYZ? Okay, let's go ahead and trade with Rome. 5 food, 3 production. Ancient walls are being built. And you are good to go. Let's blast this guy, ahead here, choose production. We managed to get an industrial zone. Let's go ahead and work on the workshop. That's going to be +3 production. Let's blast down Karlstad. We'll attack it with 2 trebuchets again because we want to get experience on our trebuchets, and then we'll kill it with the courser so we can get him to level up. We will keep the city. Loyalty in here is a little bit of a problem. How do you deal with loyalty? You grab a governor like Victor. You reassign him to the city. Governors don't need to be established in a city to provide it with loyalty. They just need to be put into the city. And you can see here we're getting +8 loyalty from the governor being placed here. And now we're only losing 2.9 loyalty per turn, which is plenty of time for us to capture more cities and prevent the loyalty from going any lower. That should be like the gist of loyalty interactions at this level of difficulty. You should never really be having much difficulty with loyalty. If you are struggling with loyalty, I will be talking about them when I go up to higher difficulties in this series. I'm going to go ahead and grab Liang here. And the reason I'm going to grab Liang is because she gives all of your builders +1 build charge if they're trained in a particular city. And we can start to use our gold, maybe even other resources to speed up how quickly, we get build charges. I'm going to put her into Aquileia, and we will keep leveling up this guy. We should capture Stockholm next turn. There's still quite a bit of pillaging to be done in the nearby areas, but I think generally speaking, Stockholm has been pillaged. Karlstad has been pillaged. Young shopping will be going soon. There's another campus here for us to pillage. Aqueducts are amazing things to pillage because they're worth gold. That gold is incredible. You go capture Stockholm. Before we capture Stockholm, we'll shoot it with you to get another chunk of experience on you, and then we'll capture it with you. And then that'll be another +13 experience. Stockholm captured. We will keep it. That should mean that loyalty is less of a problem here. -20. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, okay, no. +30. Because we managed to clear out the negative loyalty pressure. Loyalty pressure emanates from cities to cities. So that's how that works, if you were wondering. Yeah, I think on the verge of picking up printing with all of the medieval era technologies researched, and we've basically done the Renaissance era from a cultural perspective. I think we're going to call that the end of the medieval era. And then we're going to start talking a little bit more about the Renaissance era, what's in the Renaissance era, what things are important in the Renaissance era. But you can see there's way more techs in the Renaissance era than there are civics. But we are coming up into some pretty important civics. And I think it would be nice to dedicate an entire episode to really talking about the consequences of both the Renaissance and the Industrial era on your gameplay in Civ. But yeah, I hope that this video has been instructive. I hope that you've learned a few fun things about the medieval era. And next episode, we'll be talking about the Renaissance era of the game. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. We're going to finish this out. We're going to head towards nationalism. We'll probably call the episode Closer to Nationalism. And the reason for that is because I feel like I didn't play that many turns. And I just want a nice clean finish. Just repair things at random. Again, this isn't super worth optimizing, I don't think. If you care, you can optimize it. But I don't think it is important enough to sit there and hem and haw about exactly which order I should build all of these buildings that I've just destroyed. I say, look, I've already got the majority of the value from pillaging, so we can just get to work on that. Right? We do have access to the Forbidden City, and we want a high production city that we can build that in. Make sure you shoot a city with walls with your catapults because it'll bring the walls down. Cities with walls take an awful lot less damage than cities without walls. So that's why you need to bring the siege with you. You can slam your way through a city with walls. It's just very health expensive. But if you have a combat advantage, you can do it. We do have a combat advantage in this particular scenario, and so we will. But I want to show you, as we hover over there, you can see +3 intel on opponent's movements. That is coming from printing because we have diplomatic visibility on her. So printing is one of the most important technologies in this era. Cartography is probably the most important technology if you have a naval game, if you're planning on invading someone through the sea. In fact, you can beeline cartography before you even research almost anything in the medieval era. Mass production is also another really important technology for a naval game because it gives you access to the shipyard. The shipyard massively boosts the amount of production that a coastal city can produce from its harbour. So I'd say mass production is a super important technology. For war, bombards, incredibly important, as well as getting access to niter. Gunpowder, also quite good because it gives you production towards your quarries. The musketman is a very useful melee unit if you are using melee units. I would recommend... it's not that I would recommend against melee units, it's that I would advocate for the use of siege and cavalry. Siege and cavalry. We did just finish the arena in Rome, which means we can now get started on the Colosseum. Now, if I was playing on a higher difficulty, I wouldn't have been able to kind of faff about and still get the Colosseum. It would go much earlier in the game. When you're playing on Prince, dude, you could just take your time, have fun. Don't worry about it. You're good, man. Let's go ahead and get the shrine in there. Unit needs orders. Hors d'oeuvres. Let's keep these bad boys moving over to the east to get rid of these barbarians. And I'm feeling pretty good about, everything. I'm feeling good about life, feeling good about this game, feeling good about myself, feeling good about you guys watching me. I appreciate you. Right, we're going to shoot the city of Jönköping, and Västerås we can just hit because it has no infrastructure and it's just settled on a desert. You don't have to keep every city that you conquer. It is a totally valid thing if you want to just blow up a city. to just delete it off the face of the planet. If you think the city isn't very good, it isn't worth micromanaging, you can just blow it up. I would say generally it's worth it to keep a city, but that is a you thing. You make that decision. I'm getting a builder in here because I see a lot of unimproved tiles nearby. It just feels like it's builder row clock time, and I'm a big fan of builder row clock time. Another World Congress has come. This, I would say, is one of the best trade policy things. If you can target to yourself in a non-war game and you have like good friendships with people, it's good to target yourself. Otherwise, just pick someone who people don't hate. So Tamiris in this case is someone people don't hate. I would generally say voting for either campuses or city centers is like a safe bet on this. City centers can be a little bit of a dangerous vote if you're in a war game because it lets people build their walls faster. But if you're far enough ahead, you shouldn't have to care about the walls. Yeah, you just shouldn't. I'm going to take a little bit of time on these horses to heal them up. Let's go ahead and take Young Shopping. We've taken that city. We'll continue to pummel Vasteras. Let's pillage here. That will get us the Enlightenment. We'll move forward. We'll shoot this city. We will keep this city. And we're just trying to keep the army moving, making sure that all of our little ducks are in a little row. Capturing another city after we pillage the theater square. And keeping these cities busy with repairs. Sweden has basically been annihilated now. So actually even built a builder for me. That's incredible. A significant blizzard. How scary. You go ahead and heal. Can you kill this city? You might be able to. Perfect. That is Sweden dead. So we've killed 2 of the people on our continent. The last person we have to kill is Norway, and he's on a single city. So we should have a relatively easy time finishing out our goals. Let's go ahead and keep this city. And I think now this feels like a much cleaner place to end the video. So I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.